Alright, dudes, today I'm going to take you all back to how I started this channel, with my take on a D&D build for Adam Warlock. Now I based this one primarily off of the one we see in Marvel Rivals, however I did take several comic iterations and his MCU debut into consideration for some of his spells. And before we get into this build, do me a favor, go on down and hit that like and the sub button, and as always, if there's anything you do differently or if there's a character you want to see next time, leave a comment down below. Now I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into the goals of this build. Number one, I want to make sure he has mass healing. Adam is renowned for being able to heal multiple people at one time. For number two, we have good damage. Even by DPS standards, he does a lot of damage. Number three, I want to do the thing that Marvel Rivals could never, flight. Even though most of you probably know him from Marvel Rivals, where he has absolutely no movement abilities, he can fly around in the MCU and comics. And I want to make sure that he can fly around in mine as well. Now for Adam's species, we have Aasimar. Originally, I was going to use Githzerai, since a lot of Adam's abilities are alien in nature and revolve around his psionic abilities. And Githzerai fits nearly perfectly, but without this, we can't fly. And that was one of the big things I wanted for Adam from the beginning. With Aasimar, you don't actually get your flight until 3rd level, where we're going to be taking Radiant Soul, allowing 2 luminous spectral wings to sprout out of our back and grant us a flying speed equal to our walking speed. This also gives us some extra radiant damage whenever we deal it with a spell. Now, obviously, I would reflavor this so that there aren't wings coming out of your back because Adam doesn't have those. I would just have you glow and start lifting off the ground. If your DM is not cool with that, I'm sorry you have to deal with them. Additionally, from Aasimar, we gain access to Celestial Resilience, giving us resistance to necrotic and radiant damage. We also have Healing Hands, allowing us to use our action and roll a number of d4s equal to our proficiency bonus, and any creature we touch can gain a number of hit points equal to the total we rolled. Keep in mind you can only do this once per long rest. And then you have Lightbearer, allowing you to cast a light cantrip with Charisma as your spellcasting for it. Obviously, you're going to be a medium creature, and take whatever languages your DM thinks would be best for your campaign. I am going to be going with Celestial, simply because that's what Aasimar comes from. Now moving on to his background, I decided on Sage. Originally I wanted to do Astral Drifter or one of the Spelljammer feats, but it really just, none of them fit right. That gives us proficiency in Arcana and History, along with Calligrapher's supplies. This also gives us access to the Magic Initiate feat. Now from this, we gain 2 cantrips and a 1st level spell from the Wizard spell list. I chose Firebolt, Prestidigitation, and Magic Missile. Firebolt is meant to represent his primary fire from Marvel Rivals. Long range, decent damage, and it scales with you as you level up. Prestidigitation is something that I just think every spellcaster needs. There's definitely some flavoring you can throw in there to make it fit you. It does not matter. And I wanted Magic Missile to kind of represent his secondary fire. Now I know that they're not auto hit tracking, but it's the best thing I could get for a multiple hitting move that isn't Scorching Ray. Also from these scores, we're going to be adding a +3 into our Wisdom scores. Now, I know some DMs don't allow you to do +3s. If that's the case, go ahead and bump your Constitution here and just make sure you get that Wisdom up to a 20 as soon as possible. We're going to go ahead and move into his abilities. I will be using Standard Array, feel free to roll for yours. Now our primary skill is going to be Wisdom. Now our top 3 skills is going to be Primary Wisdom. Secondary, I'm going to be focusing on Dexterity for a good armor class. And then tertiary, we're going to be doing Constitution, so we have some decent HP. Now getting into the meat and potatoes of this build, let's go ahead and start with that 1st level, where I'm going to be putting it into Cleric. Starting off, we have our core Cleric traits. I decided to take Medicine and Insight. We also gain spellcasting at this level, and I will be going over all spells and their flavoring that I think makes them fit Adam Warlock at the very end of this build. And then we get to our Divine Order. I decided to go with Thaumaturge, allowing us to gain an extra Cleric cantrip and gain a bonus to our Intelligence, Arcana, or Religion checks equal to our Wisdom modifier, making sure that Arcana and Religion is not forgotten about despite us primarily hunting down that Wisdom. 2nd and 3rd levels are going to go into Cleric as well, just trying to get that subclass as fast as possible. Giving us access to Divine Spark. This allows us to take a magic action and choose any creature within 30 feet of us. We then roll 1d8 and add our Wisdom modifier to it, and we can either restore the hit points of that creature or make them roll a con save, and on a failure they take necrotic or radiant damage equal to that total, taking half on a success. Alternatively, you can use Turn Undead, allowing you to use a magic action and force all undead within 30 feet of you to make a Wisdom saving throw. If the creature fails, they become frightened and incapacitated for 1 minute. During this time, the creature is going to try to move as far away from you as possible, and the effect will end early if the creature takes any damage, or if you die, obviously. Now into our 3rd level abilities, we have our actual subclass. Now I am going to be trying to stick to the newest edition of D&D with all this, but whatever I don't have access to or they haven't published yet, I'm going to be using the 5e edition or the 2014 edition. Now with that said, I decided to go with the life domain. Now this grants us the Disciple of Life ability. Now whenever we use a spell slot to restore the hit points of a creature, that creature then gains additional HP equal to 2 plus the spell slot's level. Meaning you cast Healing Word at level 1, whatever you rolled for Healing Word is going to go up by 3. Which doesn't sound like much, but it can be really good to get someone back on their feet, especially if they're down. Also at this level, we gain our life domain spells, Aid, Bless, Cure Wounds, and Lesser Restoration. Now for the use of our channel Divinity from life domain, as a magic action, you can invoke Healing Energy, restoring a number of hit points equal to 5 times your Cleric level. You can choose any bloodied creatures within 30 feet of yourself, which can include you, and you divide those hit points among them. This is what I would see as the first dip into Adam's AoE healing. Not quite as high as I would like it, and I have a homebrew spell to add onto this at the very end that I'll go over with the spells. And it is important to note that this feature cannot restore more than half of its hit point maximum. Alright, for our 4th level, we're going to be multiclassing into Druid. This gains us access to Druidic. It's a secret language of the Druids, and honestly, it's very underutilized by DMs. I feel like there's a lot you can do with Druidic, especially now that it always allows you to have the Speak with Animals spell prepared. As for the primal order that I would recommend here, I would go with Magician. Honestly, you can go with whatever spell you want here. There's not really one that stands out as Adam Warlock, but I would recommend Guidance or Shillelagh. Honestly, I would go with Chanel, because Adam Warlock hits hard with a staff. And with our strength being lower than most, we're not going to be hitting very hard unless we have Chanel here. Now with our 2nd level of Druid, we gain access to Wild Shape. Now as far as I know, Adam has never turned into an animal, so this is not really going to be something we use until we get to our subclass. However, if you are going to use it, it is good to note you only get 2 of them. They're a bonus action to activate, and as of right now, you can only know 4 forms. They can only be a 4th CR, which if you don't know what challenge rating is, that's its own video. Let me know in the comment section below. I can try to break that down. And they cannot have a fly speed. Additionally, while an animal, you cannot cast spells. Whew, that was a mouthful, but 2nd ability is a lot less wordy. It's called Wild Companion. It simply allows you to summon a nature spirit by expending a use of your Wild Shape. This is the one that I would lean more into, since I don't remember Adam summoning anything really. I could be very wrong about that, but this does work as the Find Familiar spell without the need of any material components. When you summon your familiar in this way, they become Fey, but they disappear at the end of a long rest. Moving on to our 3rd level of Druid, we're going to be getting our subclass. For this, I thought it would be best to go with the Circle of Wildfire. Now this immediately gains us access to 2 more spells, Burning Hands and Cure Wounds, which we already had. Additionally, we can also expend use of our Wild Shape feature instead of making our stupid Fey familiar to make a totally awesome Wildfire Spirit. Now as an action, you can summon this elemental creature by expending a Wild Shape. It appears in an occupied space you can see within 30 feet of you. Each creature within 10 feet of it other than you has to succeed on a dexterity saving throw when it spawns or take 2d6 fire damage. Doesn't sound like much, but it really stacks up, especially if you're surrounded and you summon him on top of you. Also, I see this creature kind of acting as our staff in a way. In Marvel Rivals, the Karmic Staff has a little bird on top of it, or a bat if you're using the vampire skin. While that's not necessarily a creature, for D&D purposes, I would make it our Wildfire Spirit, simply because the Wildfire Spirit has a ranged ability called Flame Seed, where you can target one creature within 60 feet of you and make them take 1d6 fire damage, which once again doesn't sound like a lot, but it stacks up, especially since you can do it off of your turn. Also, while the creature is on you, you can teleport 15 feet on its turn, but that also applies to anyone within 5 feet of it. When it teleports leaving that space, every creature within 5 feet of it has to make the dexterity saving throw again or take another 1d6 fire damage. It starts to stack up if you really use all the abilities. And it doesn't necessarily say that you have to teleport very far. So you could just teleport exactly where you're standing and deal a quick 1d6 to everyone around you. I wouldn't recommend using that unless you're surrounded by a lot of really tiny trolls though. Those guys don't really like fire if you're not aware. Now at 4th level, you gain an ability score improvement or a feat. Now I would either recommend taking the Warcaster feat or bumping your wisdom up 2 to go ahead and get it to 20. Moving into 5th level Druid, you gain Wild Resurgence, meaning once on each of your turns, if you have no wild shapes left, you can expend a spell slot to regain one. Alternatively, you can expend a wild shape to regain a 1st level spell slot, but you can only do this once every long rest. On to level 6, we have Enhanced Bond. This is where the bond with your Wildfire Spirit starts to enhance. This brings up your destructive and restorative spells, meaning whenever you restore hit points or deal fire damage, you can roll an additional d8 and add it to the healing or damage roll. Additionally, whenever you cast a spell with the range other than self, you can have it originate from you or your wildfire spirit. Now, while this isn't technically an ability Adam Warlock has and kind of fits a little bit more into something Namor would do, I could also see this being a really fun way to have your staff kind of count as a separate being. I could see for D&D mechanics, obviously this wouldn't work in Marvel Rivals, maybe you stomp your staff on the ground and the little bird flies off and you're able to shoot the same beam from it while still being able to stay on the ground. I think it's pretty interesting. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Moving on to our 7th level of Druid, where we gain Elemental Fury. This is where we get to pick between potent spellcasting or primal strike. Basically, this is where the elements start to flow through us a bit more and bolster our damage. We are going to be going with potent spellcasting. This allows us to add our wisdom modifier to the damage we deal with any druid cantrip. Also, I'd talk with your DM to try to get Firebolt to work alongside this. It's not a druid cantrip, but it is kind of the bread and butter of our kit. So I would highly recommend asking your DM to allow Firebolt to be the extension here, since we get that from a feat, so there's no way to buff that really. But begging your DM aside, we get to our 8th level. This is where we're given the option of another feat. I would highly recommend you take whatever you didn't take on the previous one. So if you took Warcaster, make sure you bump that Wisdom this time. And if you bumped your Wisdom last time, take Warcaster. Now at 9th level, we gain more spells. And at 10th level, we gain Cauterizing Flames. Jesus, this is metal as fuck, okay. Now this allows us to turn death into magical flames that can heal or incinerate. Now whenever any creature that isn't tiny dies within 30 feet of you, or your wildfire spirit, a harmless spectral flame can spring forward and flicker there for 1 minute. During this time, whenever any creature enters that space, you can use your reaction to extinguish the spectral flame and either heal the creature or deal fire damage to it. Now the damage is 2d10 plus your wisdom modifier. Now you can only do this number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and obviously, I think you're starting to catch on now, you get it all back at the end of a long rest. It's a pretty fun ability. This is something a little bit closer to what Hela does than Adam Warlock, but I wouldn't put it out of his reach. 11th level is just more spells. Getting to 12th level, we gain an ability score improvement or feat. Now on 13th level Druid, we just gain some more spells. And at 14th level, you gain the main reason why I chose this class and subclass, Blazing Revival. Now, this is where the bond with your wildfire spirit is able to save you from death itself. If you were reduced to 0 hit points while your wildfire spirit is within 120 feet of you, you can instantly kill your spirit and regain half your HP immediately and rise to your feet. Now, if this doesn't sound familiar, then you never played Marvel Rivals. Now, this is almost band for band exactly what his passive is. It allows him to come back to life after being killed. Now, while you can't move to a more strategic position from this ability, in D&D, this is about the best you're going to get, without my homebrew options that I'm going to go over at the end here. Now, once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest, but you can resummon your wildfire spirit. So even though he's gone from the use of this ability, he is not gone forever. Now at 15th level, we gain Improved Elemental Fury. Now since we chose potent spellcasting, this gives a buff to all of our druid cantrips as long as they have a range of 10 feet or greater. That range then increases by 300 feet. I had to go back and reread I thought I misread that. Okay, wow, all right. 300 feet, which can also be shot out of your wildfire spirit, whose optimal range is a max range of 120 feet of you, basically giving you, at minimum, 430 feet of range. We've accidentally made Adam Warlock a sniper. On to 16th level, we gain another ability score improvement and or feat. You can take an ability score improvement here if you're not happy with your abilities. However, with this being our 19th level, we gain access to boons. Boons are extraordinarily powerful since you can only get them 19th level or higher. Now I would 100% understand if your DM restricts boons, but if they don't, I would recommend the boon of Spell Recall. This allows us to increase our wisdom score by 1 and breaking the maximum to 30, meaning if you're prepping for this, you can technically pump a lot more into your wisdom and just not get the payoff until you're at level 19. And for the main reason why I'm choosing this, whenever you cast a spell of 1st or 4th level, you can roll a d4. And if you roll the same number as the spell slot you expended, then you do not expend that spell slot. There is no cooldown, there is no switch up, it's nothing but straight fucking gas. And to cap off the kit at level 17 of Druid, you gain more spells. Overall, I'm pretty proud of how Adam turned out. There's probably some things that would be changed, and I would highly recommend altering this to be your own independent character for your campaigns. As per usual with most of my content, this is just my idea. If there's anything you disagree with, or if there's a character you want to see next time, let me know down in the comments below. Now with all that said, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.